Few years ago, I was working a corporate finance internship and it sucked. I fucking hated it. It was completely misaligned and I was questioning my entire life path. About a year later, I ended up finding a way to make a full-time living writing online, and I dropped out of college and I started living in Argentina and Costa Rica, working 5 hours a week, making about $7,000 a month as an online ghostwriter in the creator economy. So in this video, I'm going to tell you the story of my path so that you can find the inspiration within yourself to carve your own path, go your own way, and do so intelligently and strategically through the mechanism of online business and the creator economy so that you can actually go create the life that you want to live, not the life that was assigned to you. So my path actually started off as existential dread by living out the path that I unconsciously had assigned to me by society. So I got into a really good school in the US called Northwestern. I was on the football team and I didn't know what to study. So I started studying economics because my dad did business and I just felt like I should probably do business, but I never really gave it that much thought. And that all led to the point of me working an internship at this very highly touted finance firm in Chicago. So I believe I was 21 at the time. I had just torn my ACL in football. My football career was in jeopardy of being over, and it ended up being over. And I was working this internship every single day where I had to wake up at 5 a.m., go rehab my knee, take a train all the way into the city of Chicago when it was snowing out, and work from 9 to 5, basically sitting in Excel and PowerPoint documents that I didn't give a fuck about. And I acted like I knew what I was doing, and I really didn't. And I really spent most of that internship just like in the corner, secretly emailing other college football teams trying to transfer to their school, or reading books from inspirational people like Matthew McConaughey or Jordan Peterson. And so after that internship, I remember one key moment. My advisor at that internship asked me at the end, he said, "Did you like this?" And he was the first person that I said, "No, I didn't like this too." And he was like, "That's okay." And that kind of blew my mind at the time. I was like, wait, it's okay that I don't want to walk this path? It's okay that I don't want to do finance? I never considered that there could be another path. I thought it was just what you're supposed to do, especially if you're an economics student, especially if you go to a really highly expensive and highly reputable school like Northwestern that I was at. I just thought it was what you're supposed to do. And him saying, "Dude, you don't have to do this." That's what he said word for word. He said, "Dude, you don't have to do this." That was the first thing that kind of broke me out of this state of sleeping, this state of a lack of wakefulness and a lack of inner understanding about who I was and what I wanted to do. Now, I fast forward a few months later, I've gone through maybe the first semblance of a spiritual awakening or opening, or just a discovery of myself. Who actually was I? Through some mushroom journeys, through a lot of journaling and meditation, listening to podcasts, going to therapy and all these things. And I was questioning, like, do I really want to go work another finance internship this summer? Because it was what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to do a summer internship, so you stack your resume and then you get hired for a really high paying job out of college. But I was like starting to question that. I was like, do I really want to do this? And the answer I kept coming back to was no. Now, I didn't know what to do instead. I just knew that that wasn't for me. And I was becoming more interested in writing. I was becoming more interested in personal development. I was becoming more interested in psychology. And so I got this crazy idea that instead of working the internship that summer, I was going to go backpack Europe with my best friend. And at first it was kind of crazy. My parents were like, "What are you doing? How are you going to have the money for that? What about an internship?" And I was just like, no, I'm going. I don't know why, but I'm going. I just want to have this adventure. Something inside of me is telling me to go adventure and do something else than everybody else is doing. So luckily my friend was super down for the adventure too. We went to Rome and then we went around all of Europe. And it was in those 2 months backpacking with no obligations that I started to find myself, right? It sounds cliche, but I started to actually think deeply and reflect on myself and note what really gave me joy. And during this time, I started to read and write a lot because I had so much space. I started reading a bunch of Stoic philosophy at the time. I started listening to more entrepreneurship style of books, and I started to write a lot. And I got this idea to send out a newsletter to my friends and family on like some of the ideas that I was having, the travel experiences that I was having, and just interesting things that were helping me in my life. I wanted to share those with my friends and family. So I remember I was on this super long train ride from Madrid to Paris, and it's like a 10-hour ride. And because I had so much space, this is why creating space via travel and just like a hiatus from your job or taking a few months off from school can be so powerful for finding out who you really are and what you want to do. Because in that space, in that 10-hour train ride, I found the courage within myself to send that first newsletter. And I remember it was scary as fuck. Like I was like, everybody's gonna judge me, people are gonna think I'm weird. I remember I texted like 20 to 30 people and I said, hey, like this is gonna sound weird. That's how I framed the message. It's like, this is gonna sound weird, but I want to start writing a weekly newsletter. Would you be down to receive an email from me every week with just some interesting idea? And about half of those people said yes, and about half of them said no, which kind of hurt at the time. I was like, damn, like my friends wouldn't even want to read this shit. Like, what am I doing? But I decided to do it anyways. I got some really great positive feedback from a few friends and family members of like, this is amazing, you should keep doing it. And so I kept doing it. I started to write a newsletter every week to like 10 people and then 20 people and then 30 people. And by the time I came back from that trip, I was really stepping into the identity of a writer. It's something I love doing. I love going to the coffee shop. I love writing. And I also started to contemplate the idea of what would it be like to live outside of the US. The first time the idea ever popped in my mind was we were in Amsterdam, and I was probably super high because we were smoking a bunch of weed in Amsterdam, as you do when you're 21 years old and you're nomading and backpacking. But I remember walking around the city and I said to my friend, I'm like, dude, I could see myself like being a digital nomad here. I could see myself like working a remote job and living in Amsterdam. Don't know where that idea came from, but it just seemed interesting to me. I liked the energy of the city. I liked how walkable it was. I felt super aligned there. And at the time I was smoking a lot of weed, and so I really enjoyed that part of it too. But that idea planted the seed combined with writing for me to actually go explore what could this be? How could I make money online by writing? And so from there I fell down the rabbit hole. And so if you know me at all, you probably know about Dan Coe, you probably know about Dakota Robertson, you might know about Dickie Bush or Justin Welsh, you probably have heard of Alex Hormozy. And so I fell down this rabbit hole from a niche podcast from Dan and Dakota that had like a couple hundred views about how you could actually make a full-time living online on the internet by just writing about your interests. And I was like, holy shit, like this is crazy. And so from that point, I had 2 years left of college before I graduated and would probably have to go get a full-time job. So I wrote on my whiteboard. I love whiteboards. You can see I have a whiteboard here. I wrote on the whiteboard in my dorm room, I said, 2 years of discipline for 80 years of freedom. And so my mindset at that point became, I'm going full steam ahead into the creator economy. I'm going to make a full-time living online. I don't know how. I have no idea how to do it. I don't even know what an offer is. I didn't even know what marketing was at the time. I had no idea. But I was like, I'm going to find a way to make a full-time living online in the last 2 years that I'm here at school so that I can escape the 9-to-5 rat race before I ever enter. So I became very clear on that. I became very clear on this is the life I don't want, and I don't know exactly what I do want, but I know I want to be free. That was the biggest thing. It was like my spirit, everything in me felt constrained to go the 9-to-5. Everything in me felt expanded to think about making money online and traveling. And I didn't know what I would do with that. I had no idea what like a deeper purpose was or what I would really build, but I just wanted to make money online. And so from that point, this was August of 2022. For the next 3 months in school, I just locked in. I got up at 4:30 every day. I wrote on Twitter every day. I was networking like crazy with people. And I started a podcast, which had been looming in my head for a while because I liked listening to like Joe Rogan and Chris Williams. And so I was like, fuck it, I'm going to start a podcast. And through that podcast, through writing on Twitter, I started to meet a lot of people that wanted to do the same thing I was. Either they were in college too, or they were at the beginning stages of their corporate career, and they wanted to also create a life of freedom on the internet. And so I got into these niche group chats, I got into these niche masterminds, and we all collectively schemed on the best way to make a full-time living. And it started to become obvious through the people I met and the opportunities that started to come to me that ghostwriting was the way to do it. Ghostwriting, you could get paid $2,000 a month or more from one client. And if you get 2, 3, 4 clients, that's a full-time living. 3 people paying you $2,000 a month is $6K a month or $72K a year, which is probably about average or maybe above average for a newly graduated college student going into the workplace. And the cool thing about ghostwriting is it would probably take you less than 10 hours a week to do that type of work, and then you have location freedom, and then you could go wherever you want. You could live somewhere for cheaper, and then you're really making more like 100, 150K a year, relatively speaking. And you have all your time back. You don't have to go to a corporate job. You don't have to wear a suit. You don't have to get on the train. You don't have to spend really 50, 60 hours a week, and sometimes even more at these very highly touted finance or investment banking firms doing 80, 100 hours a week. You can make a similar amount of money and only have to work 5 to 10 hours a week. It seemed like a no-brainer. And so I committed to that. I was like, I'm going to do ghostwriting. So I started freelancing a little bit. I had people from my network, from the podcast, that gave me little freelance opportunities. I would write threads at coffee shops near my hometown for like $80 a pop, like a AI thread or a crypto thread. I was writing a ton of crypto content, which is kind of funny because now I definitely don't do that. But that started to compound, and I was making probably like $500 to $1,000 a month as a freelance ghostwriter for other ghostwriting agency owners. And so I remember that winter break in the month of December, basically what I did is I locked in even more. I would go to the coffee shop for 4 hours a day, and my plan, and this was with a friend who was in like a mastermind group chat with me, we were going to have a growth sprint. We were going to compete and see who could gain more followers in the month of January. So what I did is I stored up 30 threads that had viral potential, and I understood what that was because I'd been studying the algorithm, I'd been writing on Twitter, I'd taken courses, and I knew how to grow with the right content and the right growth, paid growth strategy. So what I did is I stored up 30 threads for that month. I would write a few a day at a coffee shop and just keep them in my Google Docs for when the time was ready to go post it. And I would spend my nights driving as a DoorDash driver to make a little bit of extra cash so that I could reinvest that cash into paid growth, aka paid advertising, aka paid retweets from bigger accounts. So this is a whole nother topic. I don't want to get into it here. But basically, if you have content that has viral potential and you can pay somebody with a big audience to retweet it, you're just amplifying the chances that it goes viral, essentially. And as a ghostwriter, you have to know how to grow an account to be able to do it for somebody else. And so this is part of a growth strategy. It's paid advertising, right? That's part of the game of business. So essentially, I saved up a few $100s and I paid for some retweets from some big accounts. And in January, I moved to San Francisco on January 1st, and I put out a thread every single day. I was still in school, by the way. I was doing like a study abroad entrepreneurship program in San Francisco, which was awesome. I ended up like stopping showing up halfway through because of all this, which I'll maybe get into. But I put out a thread every single morning for the next month of January, and I grew from 1,000 followers, which I had from my football career, really, to 8,000 followers in 1 month. Now, simultaneously, I was also networking via my podcast. And so what I did was I started to reach out to people and say, hey, I am growing on Twitter. I'm looking to work with health creators like yourself from the health people in my network to help grow their brand and amplify their following. So I sent out a bunch of outreach messages, and somebody that was my previous podcast guest was like, yeah, we want a ghostwriter. So I wrote them a few sample threads. They posted it. It went pretty viral, and they were like, yeah, let's work together. So right there in the month of January, maybe it was February at the time, I went from about $1,000 a month freelance ghostwriting, like freelance writing threads for other people at $100 a pop, to $4,000 a month from 2 clients that were actually brothers that both hired me at the same time because they were my podcast guests. So I went from 0 to 4K, or 1 to 4K in basically a day, or a few days of writing that thread. And then I got a referral from another friend who was an agency owner and a podcast guest that couldn't take on a health client, and he referred him to me, and I signed him at $3,000 a month. So within the span of a week or 2 weeks, I went from $1,000 a month freelancing to $7,000 a month. So now I had 3 full-time clients. It was probably going to take me 8 to 10 hours a week to do, and I'm making $84,000 a year if you expand that out. So I was like, holy shit, I made it. And at this time, I started to see the ROI for college go down more and more and more. All it became was a time suck. I had to spend hours a day doing homework, going to class, when I could spend those same hours writing on Twitter, growing my brand, maybe getting another client, getting to $10,000 a month, whatever it was. And it just didn't start to make sense in my head. And so I remember I spent a day contemplating this very deeply, like literally staring at my wall and just like contemplating it, like what should I do? And the conclusion I came to, and I verified it through other people that I respected their opinions on, both friends that I called on the phone and like Naval Ravikant, Jordan Peterson, what do they think about this? Like looking into their videos. And I came to the conclusion that my potential by going my own way for both impact, which wasn't really in my awareness yet, but money, was much higher going my own path and becoming an entrepreneur and leaving college, right? Steve Jobs did it. Mark Zuckerberg did it. Bill Gates did it. All these big time entrepreneurs left college. So like, okay, clearly there's a pattern there. So I remember I called my parents up. I said, this is going to sound crazy, but I'm not going to enroll in school for the next semester. I'm going to take the spring quarter off, and I'm going to move to Argentina with my friend Matt to do this shit full time. So it was quite a jarring thing. It was unexpected. I never thought I'd be a college dropout. Like, it completely shattered my self-image in many ways, but I ended up taking the leap. I found the courage to do it. I had a friend to do it with, which was super helpful. And I went to Argentina and was living in Buenos Aires, making $7,000 a month as a ghostwriter, which there is like $20,000 a month because of the price of living. And I was working like 5 to 10 hours a week. From that point on, things have evolved massively. I got into performance coaching, so starting to get into more the internal world. I launched creator cohorts that combined the external business strategies with the internal stuff that did well over 5 figures. I started working with Dan Coe at Cortex as a consultant and advisor to his students. And from there, I've evolved into even doing like in-person retreats, more internal work, spiritual content. There's a lot more, but that's a whole nother rabbit hole, not the topic of this video. But looking back, my evolution into more of the leveraged personal brand retreats, cohorts, spiritual content began with learning to be a ghostwriter and making a full-time living as a freelancer that gave me back all my time, because if I was working a corporate job after college, I would have been working 50, 60 hours a week, making about the same money, $84,000 a year. And I was able to do that in less than 10 hours a week. I remember I would usually take Mondays to do all my client work. So I would work from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Mondays. All my client work would be done for the week, and I would have Tuesday through Sunday to literally do whatever the fuck I wanted, which ended up usually just being like more writing, hanging out at coffee shops, reading. I didn't still know myself as much, like I was still lost internally, but I had all that time to actually figure out who I was and what I actually wanted to create and build in the world, which now are just becoming extensions of who I am. But it started off as learning how to make an offer, acquire a skill, sell the offer, network, get referrals, keep clients. Freelancing was the ticket. Freelancing was the ticket to internet freedom, essentially. And internet freedom was the ticket to internal freedom in terms of finding out who I actually was and what I wanted to do. So, broad lessons from this video for you. Get in the game. Get in the arena. You don't have to exactly know what you're going to do, but you have to take fucking action. You can't sit here and just continue to watch videos and hope it's all going to happen. You have to take action. The universe is not just going to magically give you the opportunity to go create your own life. You have to work with the universe. You have to take the action to make it happen, to carve your new path. Get in the arena, take action, start talking to people, start posting content. wherever it is, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. I'd recommend Twitter, best place to meet people. Pick a skill. Pick a skill that you can sell to people. Either a more tactical skill like ghostwriting, copywriting, web design, video editing, something like that. Or if you have expertise in it, more of an internal skill. Health coaching, performance coaching, spiritual coaching, esoteric spiritual coaching, whatever it is. You have to combine that with marketing and sales knowledge to actually monetize it. Like if you can read people's astrology charts, it's cool, but it doesn't matter in terms of your income and creating the life you want unless you learn how to market it, package it, position it, and get yourself out there and sell it. But pick a skill, take action, and you can't delay getting in the arena. You have to get in the arena and you have to act. Now, from my 3 years of experience in the game, doing 250K online, working with these big creators and building this brand, I have consolidated everything I've learned, all the nuanced strategies, all the nuanced philosophies, which the internal world is a very big part of this game. If you want to create a new life externally, you have to transform on the inside, and you have to know yourself deeply to make sure you're not running in the wrong direction. You're doing something that's aligned with your blueprint and what makes you unique. I've consolidated all that into a school community called the Conscious Creator, which is a 90-day roadmap to your first high-ticket client of $1,000 or more, 1,000 followers on any social media of your choosing, network opportunities within the community via live Q&A calls and guest speakers, and a guarantee that if you join the community and you apply everything we teach, you will replace your income in 1 year of doing this. That's a guarantee. If you don't, we will refund you the entire $1,000. The blueprint, the roadmap is proven. It's proven in myself. It's proven in many clients that you can see the testimonials of on our school page. The roadmap works, the principles work, but it's up to you to do the work. We're not going to do the work for you, but if you apply everything, we have that guarantee of if you don't replace your income in 1 year, we will refund you personally the $1,000. And $1,000 to join a one-time payment school course that's going to be a community for the rest of your life with the potential to change your entire life and replace your income with something that's aligned. To me, it's a no-brainer. I've paid much more for many different programs that weren't as in-depth as this. Now, if you're super serious and you want more intimacy than the curriculum and the community element, I have another program called Creator Accelerator, which is a 3-month container that is very intimate, very intense, and would guarantee that you sign your first high-ticket client, or if you already have clients, scale that by 2 to 3 times. The program would be a 90-minute one-on-one strategy call with me, 12 live group calls with an intimate group of 3 to 5 people where you can ask questions and get feedback, 12 one-on-one calls total, so one every single week with a personal performance coach and marketing strategist named Will, who's my right-hand man, business partner, really dialed with client acquisition and strategy and marketing and copywriting, private group chat, and then automatic lifetime access to the Conscious Creator community, which I just mentioned. So Conscious Creator, if you're looking to get in the game, you're looking to sign that first client, you're looking to create a life of freedom and replace your income online, and the Creator Accelerator for those that are more serious and want more intimate, hands-on support to go sign the first client, create a life of freedom, and do so in an aligned way. So that's my story. Hopefully it gives you a little bit of inspiration. I'm not special. There's tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people who have done the same thing. There's people digital nomading all across the world. There's people with personal brands that they monetize all over social media platforms. You don't have to be special to do this. You just need to choose courage. And that is really the barometer of success, right? Most people will become aware of this stuff and they won't act on it because they're scared. They're scared about losing their job. They're scared about not being able to be a sovereign entrepreneur. They're scared about what their family's going to think of them. Whatever it is, the biggest filter for success in this game is the internal courage, conviction, and the faith that it's going to work out. So whether you join one of the programs that I offer or not, I would say to you, choose courage, get in the arena, learn a skill, be willing to do the work, and a few months of focused effort can significantly alter the trajectory of your life. Coming back full circle to my story, Within 6 months, I went from thinking I'm going to be a consultant at some big four consulting firm to now I'm a digital nomad living in Argentina and Costa Rica and learning how to surf and working 5 hours a week from cafes. It can happen fast. It will feel long when you're in it. 6 months feels like a long time when you're really locked in and focused, but you look back and it's a blink, right? 6 months of focused effort will change your life in whatever direction you choose. All you have to do is every single day wake up, choose courage, choose conviction, and have the faith that there is a path unfolding for you that's going to alter the trajectory of your life. So stop watching this video. Think about what's the first thing to act on. Don't watch another video. It's probably not worth it. And go take action.